The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. My name is Ryan Greigg, and as always, I am joined by my partner, Jacqueline Smith. Mission behind this podcast is, of course, to increase your energy and reduce your stress following what we call the 15-Point Plan system. That can be found at winmakegive.com. And we've spent a lot of time this year really focusing on each one of those 15 points so that we can have more energy and a little bit less stress in our life. Right, Jacqueline?
Absolutely. I think too, it's about like high performance and happiness too, right, Ryan? Like you can't do amazing things if you're feeling crummy all the time, and if you don't have like things shored up in your life and the habits in your life to support the dreams and the lifestyle that you want to live. And I think that's really what 15-Point Plan brings, is a system to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, and that you have the habits to support what you're building. And so whether that is parenting, a family of young kids. I mean, I've raised 4 boys. That takes a lot of energy. Or whether it's building a business, right? Or whatever you want to do in your life, your dreams and your goals and your desires, do you have the habits that your dreams require? And I think the 15-Point Plan is an amazing system to make sure that you are approaching things from a holistic way and not kind of getting too out of balance in any one area for any length of time.
100%. You use words like systems and habits. They almost fall together, Jacqueline. We know systems make the ordinary extraordinary. In other words, if we have these powerful habits, then us ordinary folks can actually become extraordinary by following that system, by building these habits. And I love how you said that. Find the habits that your dreams require. Find the habits that are going to allow you to be the person that your dreams require. And today we're talking about influence, Jacqueline. We're talking about influence, which we've talked about. We've talked about influence and what outside influence, external influences look like. But today we wanted to have a conversation on how we can best influence ourselves, and what are some tools and techniques that we have to positively influence ourselves so that we can keep pushing along and being the best people that we know we can be, right?
Yeah, I think it's important that we understand that in order to have influence on others, you have to be able to influence yourself first. So whether it's, again, like with parenting, or with if you are a business owner and you lead a team or have employees that you're working with, or customers even, in order to influence others, you first have to influence ourselves. And I think so many times we focus on external things, and it's kind of that attitude, and it might not even be consciously, your attitude, but just kind of like, oh, I will be happy when X, Y, and Z happens, or I will be patient when X, Y, and Z happens, or I will be, fill in the blank. And so often when we have that mindset, we're giving our power away to things that we have no control over. And when we give our power and our agency away, I don't know about you, but that is not a good feeling, like not a good way to live life, and to feel powerless and to feel frustrated all the time because you are waiting for all of these external things, people, circumstances to kind of line up so that you can then be who you want to be. And I think we have it backwards.
I agree 100%. You just mentioned a lot of important information that I think we can unpack a little bit. The word powerless, I don't like that word, Jacqueline. I don't like feeling like I have no power or agency over myself. That frightens me. That makes me cringe, thinking, gosh, I'm powerless. So what would put me into a state of that? Well, I think I feel powerless when things are outside of my control, when I'm just trying my best, but I'm focused on things that I really have no control over.
Yeah.
And that powerlessness behind that, I've realized, is actually something I'm just punishing myself with. Like, why am I focused on that? Why am I giving up my power to something I maybe can't control? So taking a step back, looking, can we actually control that at all? Can we do anything about that? And if no, let's remove that powerlessness. But I wanted to unpack something you mentioned, because I think this is really powerful and I don't want to overlook this. You've raised 4 boys. That is, Jacqueline, I have 1 son, and I am amazed by people that have more than 1 child. I don't know how y'all do it. And if you have had 4, that is like mind blowing to me. And you run an incredible business and you're a pilot and like all the above. So for the parents out there, I love this quote. Are we giving ourselves enough energy to get us through the day and do the things that our dreams require, but also having the energy to go home to the people that we love? And this quote goes, when you go home at the end of the day, are you giving the people that you love the best of you, or do they get the rest of you?
Yeah.
That was so powerful to me in thinking, I work so hard all day. I give all my energy all day, but then I go home to the people that matter to me the most. And I haven't preserved any energy for them. And they're just getting the rest of me. They're getting the leftover of me. No, no,
Mhm.
no. I don't want that. I want them to get the best of me. So I follow this system and this plan so that I can have that energy for the second or third part of my day of being with the people that I love. Right. So I just wanted to
Absolutely.
mention that in regards to parenting, can we follow this system to give us that second burst of energy to be there with the people that we love after we've done the amazing stuff during the day with our business?
Mhm. The analogy that's I've been just pondering for the last couple of weeks is about, when you have like something that's out of alignment in your body and maybe it's causing you to limp or like favor like maybe a certain side. And then, so like your muscles are all kind of like diverting energy to handle this overcompensation that you're doing,
Yeah.
right, in your body, or
Right.
this misalignment that's happening. And what it does is it puts strain on certain parts of the body that are overcompensating to handle the misalignment. And it's okay if that happens in our lives, like, for a day or whatever. So we're not talking about like perfection here, where it's like, oh my gosh, you have to do the 15 points every day perfectly or you are, you know, out of balance. Well, no, like life is never like perfectly balanced, but it's about not getting out of alignment or out of balance for like
Mm.
an extended period of time where it's going to put unnecessary strain on other parts of your life. So if you use my body analogy, right? So if I'm like limping, well, because my left leg is hurting, well, my right hip is taking more pressure. And over time, it's going to cause damage in my body because I'm out of alignment for too long. And then it causes pain and other things to start flaring up because they're overcompensating. Well, in your life, if you, for example, don't have a hobby, you don't have to do a hobby and be like
Mm.
this big creative person every single day. But if you're never getting into the creative side of your brain or doing something that brings you joy just for the sake of bringing you joy, that doesn't have any like productive like gain to it, like over time you are out of alignment for too long and it causes this imbalance to happen. Or if you're not taking care of your physical health, then you're putting additional strain unknowingly or knowingly on your relationships because you're showing up differently because you're not taking care of yourself.
Mm.
So then that strain causes other problems to start festering in your life, which then, right, that creates a whole nother set of issues to deal with. So I think it's important to look at, how am I showing up in my life and how am I influencing myself first so that am I use the word shored up, right? I'm shored up and I'm
Mm.
prepared. I'm ready to take on the day. I'm ready to get home and have a great evening with my spouse and my kids and my family. What are the things I need to do to make sure that I'm not out of alignment and putting additional strain on other parts of my life?
Mm. Hmm. And you're exactly right. We put that strain, just like the muscles that get overworked and we overcompensate. We do the same thing with the rest of our life. That
Mhm.
domino effect is real, and all those things that you mentioned. Well, then I get into a bad mood. Then I eat some food I shouldn't eat. Then I'm not drinking the water that I should have, and it snowballs so quickly. So how can
Yep.
we influence ourselves to
Yeah.
make sure that we're doing those things, those habits, those systems to continue on being that
Mhm.
person that our dreams require? Jacqueline, our partner Ben Kinney talks about a leadership triangle,
Mhm.
of what that looks like and what a long-term goal of leadership can look like. And the first step in that leadership triangle is leading ourselves. We can't
Right.
lead anybody else unless we're leading ourselves. In other words, we got to lead by example. And once we've done that for a long time and we've shown up for ourselves consistently and we've built those habits and those systems, the next step of that leadership triangle would then be to lead others. And we can work our way through leading others. And when we've done that, for example, I do these Instagram stories where I share workouts on there. A main reason why I do that is because it's uncomfortable. And I just do a little Instagram video and I put it out there. Well, I've done that for years now. And so when I go places, for example, I go to a work event, my partners at the work event go, "Hey, Ryan, are we working out tomorrow?" Well, they've seen me work out so long now, they think it's normal. So they now come ask me. So now I can maybe lead some others. I've led myself for so long and I've built this system and this habit that now others have seen that and they go, well, shoot, maybe he could help me, right? Maybe I can learn from them.
Yeah.
And the last step on that would be attracting leaders. Now those people come to me and they say, "Hey, Ryan, I watched you work out. You and I worked out. And guess what? I got my crew of 4 guys now." Shout out to my buddy Mike Gamboa. He was in our workout group for a while, like almost a year. I just talked with him the other day. That's what he says. He's like, "Dude, I got 4 guys that I'm leading now." He's got 4 guys he's leading now. And that's how you know that we've done a good job, because he's now leading other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's a great example of how influencing ourselves can turn into influencing others. And I think the first step, like you asked the question, how can we influence ourselves first? Well, I think the first step is like not focusing on trying to, or not focusing on things that we can't control. So first step is like, that's why I think 15-point plan is the first step. It's like, okay, these are all things that I have control over, and they're all things that will make me better. Right. And I think Brendan Burchard, I was down at his conference recently in LA, and he talked about how so many things, so many problems can be solved by just getting fit, like just by taking care of your physical body. And he said, like, basically hydrate, sleep, nutrition, and moving your body, lifting weights and moving your body way more than you think that you have to or need to. And then he said the second thing after that, so if you've done that, then focusing on like focusing on your spiritual. So he's like, basically get connected with something like greater than the problems that we're stewing about or facing. So that could be things like dancing, that could be going for a walk in nature, that could be journaling, that could be prayer, it could be meditation, mindfulness. What is it that helps you connect to something higher than your problems? And then you can focus your mind on thinking, more positive thoughts and set your mind on certain things. But I think a lot of times we try to influence our mind before we've taken care of like what's feeding it, which is like your body. And I always,
Yeah.
I've shared this with my youngest son, like your brain, your brain is a body part. And so, and then it's producing thoughts. And so if you're just trying to change the thoughts, well, what are you putting into your body that's impacting that body part's ability to produce like fruitfulness, right? So like if you're just eating bad, like your heart's going to not work properly over time. So if you're just eating bad and you're not sleeping, you're not hydrating, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not getting outside, you're just scrolling on social media constantly, like then what is happening is you're not setting your body part, your brain, up for success to be able to produce good thoughts, which is your mind.
That's
And
right.
so you probably can't even practice mindfulness at the level that you need to because you can't focus on anything because you're malnutritioned and dehydrated.
That's right. All of the above. And then you mentioned the scrolling, right, which is an external influence. And we're just being bombarded with external thoughts all day long. We don't even have the time to think about our own thoughts and to do what we need to do to lead ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So, yeah.
I came across an extreme example of this recently, Jacqueline, and I shared this with you. And I think it's worth sharing this on this call because it's an extreme example of influencing yourself. I was in Yosemite last week with my brother, which, just by the way, a couple days in nature with a sibling or a loved one will heal just about anything. So if you want to influence yourself positively, spend some time in nature alone or with a loved one. But we were in Yosemite And if you've ever been to Yosemite or you're familiar, you know that there's some of the largest rocks in the world. They're 3,000 foot tall rocks, and it's like this mecca of rock climbing. And there's a rock called El Capitan there, otherwise known as El Cap. 3,000 foot granite rock, right? And this is like the biggest mountain climbing feat in the world. So my first thought was thinking, gosh, I looked and I saw 3 people on that rock climbing it. And I went, wow, those 3 people are doing the pinnacle of that sport right now. How can I compare that to my life? What would be the pinnacle of my life and my career and my life and my business? Because those 3 people I'm looking up on that mountain, they're doing the most extreme version of what they could possibly do in their life. And I thought, how can I do that in my life? But then we started to study that rock, Jacqueline, and we came across a gentleman named Alex Honnold, Honnold. This guy was the first person to free climb El Cap, meaning he climbed a 3,000 foot granite rock with no ropes. He falls, he's dead. It took him just under 4 hours to do it, but they talked about his journey of how he prepared for that. And this guy was just the extreme version of having zero outside influence. He lived in his van for 9 years while he was training. He lived in a van for 9 years. He talked about his budget being 88 cents a day because he didn't eat all day long, and he went and got top ramen. And this guy's entire life revolved around rock climbing, and specifically for years about this journey of solo climbing El Capitan, which nobody had ever done. He had zero outside influence, Jacqueline. And what I found fascinating was when they studied his brain, they found his amygdala, which is the part of your brain that gets stimulated. It didn't exist with him. He did not get stimulated by outside stimuli. He did not get stimulated by the fact that he was 2,000 feet up on a rock and looked down. All he looked at was, where does my finger go next? Where does my foot go next? And I thought that was a fascinating example of somebody that had spent just about a decade with almost zero outside influence, other than what he was doing, which was this mission to be the world's best rock climber and be the first person to ever do such an incredible feat like solo climb El Capitan. So that was just a major extreme version of having no outside influence and what that can do to somebody's brain. Removed all stimulus. I thought that was fascinating.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was also from eating top ramen every day. It like broke his brain. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that it's so fascinating that he removed all outside influence and then was able to do this. And I think what we do, Ryan, what kind of started this conversation was we tend to focus the opposite. Like, how can I control the outside, right, influences? And we focus on trying to control everyone else around us. And we're not focused on what can we do every day to be better, to be more present, to be more capable, to have more energy. And none of that is quote unquote out there. That is all within your control. You have the power to influence how you show up. And it's up to everyone else to influence how they show up. And like you said, the best way to lead others is to be an example, lead by example, and show them, right, how to show up better. So
That's right. So at the end of the day, we're going to have the most power over our life, feel the least powerlessness if we can simply lead by example.
Yeah.
Leading ourselves. So question for our listeners and challenges: what's one thing you could do this week to lead yourself to be the best leader or best person you could be? What's one thing, just one thing? What's one point that would allow you to become a better leader and influence yourself positively?
Love it.
Don't forget to check all of our other podcasts at winmakegive.com. You can find me on Instagram at Ryan Park Greigg, as well as Jacqueline Race Smith. Until next time, we thank you all for listening. Don't forget, share this episode with your friends. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And we thank you all for listening. Until next time, Jacqueline, final words.
Just keep on keeping on, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.